All right, guys. So welcome back to another episode of the Forge Your Life podcast with your host, Richard Fu from The Ultimate Man and richardfu.com. And today, guys, I have someone really sassy, someone unbelievably out there that when I got to meet her, she just really full of energy. I love the way she talks. Her name is Krstin, and she's just an amazing leader here because she's had get this, guys, over 30 years in leadership training. But not only that, plus 20 years in marketing, in media, in sales, and so much more in business experience. So if you add that together, she sounds like she's 50 plus, but I'm telling you, she does not even look 50 plus at all, okay, guys? She's had such huge experience all over the world, in Silicon Valley, in Sydney, in LA, and just keeps growing and growing. And she is, get this, guys, the Sassy Assassin, the founder of Sassy Assassin, where they really help coach women entrepreneurs to really step into their power. It's almost the same as The Ultimate Man, but just for women. And this is what I love the most about Krstin and her work. And so, guys, I want to say welcome to Krstin. Krstin, thanks for jumping on the show today.
Oh, thanks. That was a great introduction. I don't know if I could say it any better, so I'll just say it.
I'm sure I skimmed the top of it. It's just skimming the top, Krstin. And so, Krstin, for the people who haven't heard of you before, could you give us a bit more details just about yourself and the Sassy Assassin brand?
Sure. I started, actually, it's funny because it started over 10 years ago when I was starting to sew, which is a funny place to start. So I started doing crafting, and it was the first time that I ever had the feeling like I wanted to be an entrepreneur or work for myself or be the boss. I always said, let somebody else be the boss and I'll be a great worker. But when I was sewing wine bags and gift bags and all kinds of stuff, I started having these feelings, and I thought, wow, I am creative. And I think because it brought out creativity and confidence in me. So I started a craft business called Something Sweet and Sassy. And so Sassy kind of stuck. And so as I went on in my career, and I stayed in the kind of the workforce for about 4 or 5 more years. And I think, and when I was in Australia the first time, so we first moved here in 2008, I said, you know what, I'm going to start my own business because I was inspired by Sydney and all the entrepreneurs and all the people that were adventurous. And I said, I'm going to do it. Why not me? Why not me? It wasn't why, it was why not? So I said, well, I'm going to name it Sassy SEO because that's what I was really focusing on. And I kept that Sassy brand. And so what happened from there is I realized I wasn't actually just doing search engine optimization. I was coaching and training people back then. That was in 2009. And so I said, well, I'm going to build a brand for myself. And because I love mysteries, Scooby-Doo and Miss Fisher murder mysteries, I said, oh, you know what? And superheroes, Wonder Woman, Black Canary, all that stuff. I thought, I'm going to be the Sassy Assassin. And that's going to be my person. And I stepped into her, and she went from search engine optimization to now coaching and mentoring women entrepreneurs to, upwards to do whatever they wanted to do, build a business, become a millionaire, do whatever they want to do, but I'm going to lead and empower them along the way and support them.
Wow. That's a beautiful story, and I love that. And I want to pull this one thing out of this story here, Krstin, is that you said that you were like, you started off, and this is the most mind-boggling thing here, is that most people who are entrepreneurs, right? They're always like, oh, I grew up and I always knew I couldn't work for someone. But you have a different story. And this is what I want to dig in here is you're like, you know what? I can work for someone, right? And I will work for someone. And talk us about that, right? And then talk us about more deeper into, you said you tapped into your creativity. Then when you did do that, did you realize that actually I don't want to work with someone anymore? Or do you feel that because you were good enough to work with someone, right, that you can actually get in and step out and see what would it be like on the other side of the fence?
Right. Yeah. It's funny because I started working. I started working when we were pretty young. I always wanted to, for some reason, even during the summers, I thought, well, I want to have a job, make money. I started out as a camp counselor at CYO camp, which is Catholic Youth Organization in America. And so I took my summers, and in the morning I would do camp counseling. And then of course I'd go to the beach. I'm a super a beach girl through and through, mermaid for sure. But I was always really good at, and I would call it helping people, right? So I don't help people anymore. I support them. But it was helping people, and I loved it. I loved being of service to other people. And so I started, the reason I have 30 years of leadership experience is because when I was very young, around that time, I joined a leadership organization around student government, and I started volunteering. It was kind of my first volunteering that I was doing at 13, and it lit me on fire. Like, wow, I could really teach and train people how to be leaders and to be to speak up and to bring people together for a better cause. And so I think that was because I thought service was, even though I was in a leadership organization and learning leadership qualities and eventually led in that organization, I still wanted to be around people.
Yeah.
And so I thought that, I guess I just didn't really think I was going to, that I could be the real leader. I could be a leader amongst leaders, but I didn't believe in myself that I could be the leader, which is why I do confidence. I believe so much in confidence now because I didn't have it to say, actually, I could do it. And so I thought, oh, okay, well, I'll just be part of the group and I'll work really hard. And I wanted to get recognized, I was frustrated. I was always frustrated in my corporate job because I always felt like either I just felt like I wasn't going where I wanted to go, right? I wanted to go to the top. Like, my dreams when I was younger is I wanted to be the editor of a women's magazine in New York. I thought, well, I'm going to be the editor, and I will lead, but I still wouldn't be. I never imagined myself as the boss. Now, for sure, my dreams are so big, but I know that even if I achieve them, it will still be with a group of people, but I will be leading my piece of the pie.
Yep.
And I was a good worker. I worked hard. I worked long hours, but I never was fulfilled, right? I was not satisfied. It's like when you just eat a little bit and you're just like, oh, that didn't satisfy me. And that didn't satisfy me. So there was always something missing. And I guess because I didn't ever embrace my creativity because I was in marketing and media. And I always, I never thought that I was creative until I started sewing.
Love it. I love it. And it's so powerful. And you brought up a really important point here of that a lot of us, and I know this is true for me as well, is that, we turn to ourselves, we look at ourselves in the mirror and we go, who am I to be, the one in front? Who am I to be that? Right. And I want us, and I know you dug into it, that the frustration of like, you work hard, but you weren't getting recognized. Right. And then what was the next step for you? What did you do to, it's good enough that we all get to that frustration, but then what did you do? And what should people in that same situation be able to do so they can actually step out of frustration and into something else?
Well, it's interesting because there are two, I think there are two ways that I went. The first way, I got mad. I was in Australia. I left my job. And I said, because I was meeting people that were doing what I could do. And I thought I could do this as good or better. I have more experience. I'm, older. I'm thinking about this strategically. And I thought, well, I'm going to go out and find a job in SEO. And so I started calling people and talking to people, and they said, you're not a developer. What business do you have being an SEO? Like at that point, that was 10 years ago. I guess, no, it was 7 years ago that I started my business. They said, you're not a developer. What business do you have in search engine optimization? And I'm only going to share this next part and not to create any kind of controversy or anything, but I was told, if you're not a guy, you don't know SEO. And I thought, how dare you? Like, you don't know. This is when I started really stepping right into my sassy, right? I was wait a minute. That's not even fair. You don't even know me. So I got angry. So I started my company out of frustration and anger and said, I can do this and I can do it better. And I will show people, I'll prove it. So that was my intention then. And it was never from a point of, I was told in my 20s to act like a man, and that's how I would succeed. In my 30s, I had to then undo that. So now in my 40s, I'm embracing the fact that I have I have feminine qualities. I also have confidence qualities that really support me working with a lot of men. Like, I love working with men. And I think that it's that sharing of energy, right? Masculine and feminine. So now that I've really stepped into my feminine leadership, not just my feminine qualities, I think that it's different. So I started that business and I got angry and I said, I could do it better and I'm going to prove it. So that was my intention. This time when I decided to rebrand and now add these other, this confidence coaching part of this puzzle, which it is now a story.
Yep.
It's coming from the place of service. Is that my dream of connecting women and to inspire them to support, celebrate, and empower each other so that we raise the feminine energy. And I feel like that is what's going to change and heal the world. That's the reason why I'm doing this business and what I'm doing now. A couple of my businesses is for that reason, is for service and inspiration and not out of anger and frustration. So I think that I guess I would give but you have to go through that, right? I think sometimes you have to kind of, this is a random example, but when I was in my 20s, I dealt with body image issues and eating disorder, in my youth, which is why women's issues are so important for me. But I read this book and it was called When Food is Love. And the gal wrote, fill your cupboards with whatever you want to eat and let yourself eat it. And eventually you'll stop eating it because you'll feel like food won't be love anymore. So it was kind of that same thing, like let it out, get over and embrace those qualities that you have and for whatever reasons, because eventually I believe that you'll get to that point where then you'll say, okay, it's not about proving anymore, it's about serving. So I would say it's really important that we look at why we're doing things and what repels us and what attracts us to figure out the story of where we're going to go next. So if somebody wants to start a business, that's great. I think, and in my experience, that they really have to do the work before they start the business, finding your passion, finding your purpose, what's going to be your niche, your uniqueness, stepping into what really makes you powerful. And then your business and the next parts of it will be even stronger, because that's where I found a lot of roadblocks in my marketing business. That's where we were stopping, is because the people that I was working with, some of them did not believe in themselves enough to say, we can go bigger, I can charge more, and then I can afford to keep working with you.
Wow. Kristin, I'm just sitting here, I'm just like mind blown, yeah? You just shared so much, and I want to pull out some few things here because that was phenomenal. It was crazy good, yeah? And I love the fact that you really brought home that example of the pain, right? The pain that pushed you to first, I guess, get you rolling, to light that fire, but then you realize that you can't keep feeding yourself that pain. Yeah, you can't keep feeding yourself that pain, so then that fire will keep burning. It doesn't burn that way. It ignites. It's really bright, but then eventually, it as quickly as it ignited, it can go away, right, when the pain is gone. And I want to ask you this question here, Kristin, is that, when you transition from the pain, right, from the pain, then into service, into the real why of why you want to do what you want to do, right? How did you do that? Did you go out and get a coach, and then the coach was pointing out to you like, Kristin, you shouldn't be having to create this business just to prove that one dude wrong, that women can do SEO, right? Talk us through about that. Talk us through that turning point as well for yourself and your businesses.
So I guess, there's been a lot of turning points, and I'll preface this by saying that my husband and I have been we're living apart for a year. He got a chance to come back to Australia because we didn't think that would ever happen. Like when we left Australia, we thought, wow, we always wanted to come back and live here again because it was like it's a second home for us. And now it's just home as much as California is home. Mm-hmm. So over the last year, I guess the impetus, what happened was we knew it was coming and we knew we were going to be apart. And I had a wonderful, I have two amazing friends in particular, Jeanette Valentino and Denise Elizabeth Byron, who work together and they do coaching that kind of mesh into each other. But I went to Jeanette and said, look, I know that you coach people through transitions, and I really feel like I have 3 months left with my husband. Will you work with me so that we make sure that it is meaningful and not stressful? Because I really want these 3 months to be amazing. And so and this is from somebody who was always the show. Like I was a one woman gal. I could do it. I had a tough time training people because I could do it. But like I think a lot of women go through that, right? I don't need support. I don't need a coach. Now I have at least 2 coaches and other ones like mentors come in and out. And I think, oh my gosh, the village mentality is so true that even coaches need coaches, right? Like I'm a coach, a mentor, trainer, leader, whatever. I still need that support as well. So that was one of the impetuses to that. So that when my husband and I were apart, it really then came down to, I had to start taking care of myself better. So it came from a point of, I had to practice self-care. So thank goodness between Jeanette and Denise, and they have a fabulous program called Sparkles that really then digs into who I am and what I want to achieve and what the next year looks like with business trend analysis and how I'm going to get there. Anyways, it unlocked so much more in me, my belief, bigger dreams, and then they coach me to the kind of the action of getting there. And so when my husband and I were apart, I had nothing but time to take care of myself. And I can tell you there were a few dark moments over the last year, like life-defining moments. I don't call them rock bottom. I don't call them depression. You know, those were feelings at that time. I call them life-defining because they catapulted me into, I can only explain it from being in a cocoon to being in a butterfly. So I call them butterfly moments. When you're, so it's dark and then all of a sudden it's like, you bloom. And I had one in particular last year. And when I came out of that was when I stopped using the word help, because I was helping too many people. I was helping people in my family and people in my groups and people in my volunteering and whatever. And there was nothing left for me. And so I had to then really say, I need to take care of myself. And now I will support you and celebrate you and empower you, but I won't help you, because helping to me is saying, I'm going to give you 2 hands and take from you. And then I'm going to carry 2 things and you have no things. And now I have more to do and nothing. And there's no hand here on myself. And I see support, empower, and celebrate like this. I'm doing it to myself and I'm doing it to you. Helping is like, let me take it from you and you have nothing. You don't have to worry about it anymore. And I was carrying so much that it just, hopefully you didn't see that. You could just hear that. But when I stopped and I quit a bunch of things I was doing and I really took time to figure out who I was and what I wanted to do, did these all of a sudden so much creativity and bigger dreams and bigger purpose. And I really rediscovered my passion, which my passion used to be helping people. That wasn't serving anybody at all, because they weren't learning anything and I had too much to do. So when I stopped and just went underground for a little bit, it was just a little bit of time, that I realized actually I still want to be of service, but this is how I could be of service. And the celebrating part is I always like to have fun. So I wasn't having fun. And I'm sure I wasn't as much fun to be around. And that was kind of those were a lot of turning points, a lot of things that happened. But that was because I'm so grateful for the time that I did have to take a step back, restart, like refresh, and come back even stronger, because now there's no stopping me. And all I'm doing is just trying to find people like me so we can connect and keep changing that energy.
Wow. It's a powerful story. And it was so crazy awesome, but I can imagine it was freaky and scary at the same time. And I love how you brought in how important it is, right? How you're like a one-show gal, right? It's like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And it's not just women. How many dudes do this as well, right? I think, if anything, the solopreneur, the whole idea of if you can't do it by yourself, then you're not good enough, is ridiculous, right? It's ridiculous. And I love that you bring in the fact that you have to go seek help from other people, right? The coaches out there. And I want to reiterate something so important here that you hammered in, Krstin, is that, helping isn't about you taking that burden away from someone. Helping is you giving them the tools, right? So that they can dig themselves out of the hole. I mean, your coach or whoever you have jumps in the hole with you, but they're not there in the hole pushing you up. They're there saying, you got to take this step and you got to take that step. And I think that's what you're saying, right? Is that the power of coaching comes through not me saying, Krstin, go do this, but it's me asking you the powerful questions so that you start thinking at a different level. Would that be fair to say?
Absolutely. And so I have gotten into superheroes, and so Sassy Assassin used to just be like my online comics for SEO. I was doing these comics, like ABCs of SEO and social media and all that stuff. And so she was quiet for a while. And then as I really, just a couple things happened. Like I found this book on Supergirls, and then there was this Lego superhero exhibition at the Powerhouse Museum. And I really thought, you know what? It is about superheroes, because as powerful as they are, they still are better together, right? The Justice League or the Birds of Prey, or, so even superheroes need each other and that different support, because we all have something unique, right? Like, in the water, and I'm powerful in the water, and I'm powerful in the sky, and I'm powerful, all that kind of stuff. And so I feel like I talk a lot about that, and which is then why it became my theme, is because we absolutely do. Does not mean we are not powerful by asking for support. It just means that we want to go bigger and better and do, create more of an impact.
Love it. And I love that you bring up the superhero thing. With all these superhero movies coming out in our faces nowadays, it's more important than ever. And I think that's why it's so powerful, is that even though they look super, and we all feel like we're super sometimes, and we look at other people and think they're superheroes, they're just masters at business, whatever it is, health, but they also have vulnerabilities, right? And our biggest vulnerability is not being willing to step in and ask for help.
Right. And stepping into your best self. Like my whole thing, the biggest word that I have that I use is magnificent. And I say, I step into my magnificence. And when I do it, it's not about me being better than anybody else and saying, I'm magnificent, so you can't shine. It's that when I act as my most magnificent, I bring everybody up with me and we're all doing it together. So whether it is inspiring somebody to say, you know what, I can take one step towards my magnificence, or I can take, it's just that just because I have it does not mean that you don't have it. The fact that I have it means that it is more possible for everybody else to have it as well.
I love it. And it's the whole idea of the servant leader, right? Just being that example for other people. And so, Krstin, I want to say it's been an absolute pleasure here. And I'm hurting that we have to wrap it up. That we need to start wrapping up the show so that we can finish on time. Otherwise, we're here all day, right? But before we get to that, Krstin, I want to ask, just a few quick questions, right? Some quick fire questions over your way. And, we'll start off with our favorite one, which is what we call the time travel moment, right? If you could go back to, I think a good time, whichever time period suits you, but I'm thinking the best one might be the one where you're about, you were working and wanted to become the head editor, right, of the women's magazine. What would you tell little Krstin back then, one piece of advice that you now know about yourself and your whole journey that she needs to know?
So in that instance in particular is don't go work for a women's magazine, right? Because I find, at least not a lot of them, right? They're changing now, right? Some are empowering and whatever. But it would be like, and that's what somebody, that's how I got led into women's studies, minor, whatever. That's a whole other story. But I would say to be confident no matter what. And I don't believe in faking it till you make it. Like I used to live like that. But the fact is when you really figure out what your passion and purpose is, you don't have to fake it. We should just be confident who you are, and that is enough. You'll figure it out. You'll meet people along the way that will support you. You'll grow, you'll have different dreams, all that kind of stuff. But just to be confident no matter what. Now I'm going to tell you this, and this is so random and off topic, but I would say learn how to make a second income or a passive income. Like I wish I joined my networking company 10 years ago. I'd be at the top of the company, which is, where I'm going and bringing people along with me. But I would say, learn about finance and start thinking about building, your wealth or your retirement or whatever, then like I would say do that. And the way that I do it is I'm part of a network marketing company. And I would say just be nice to yourself. Like stop with the pressure. You're beautiful and you're good. Like you're not even good enough. You're better than you think you are. And I wish I would have said that. It doesn't matter. I figured it out now and I'm doing all of those things. But I would say I would have loved to have, just speak up, use your voice, no matter how scary it is. Because now I use my voice all the time. And I thought, how come I couldn't do this when but that's okay. No regrets.
Wow. Love it. Awesome. Awesome. And so then on to the next question here, Krstin, is that, I'm going to mix it up here. So, Krstin, you've read a lot of books and you've mentioned one of the books as well in our chat here. We'll add it to the show notes as well. So if there was one book that is an absolute must read for all the women and even the guys that are listening as well, right? What book would they have to read? What's the one book you would recommend?
Okay, I'm just going to do two fast. The first one is You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero and A Woman's Worth by Marianne Williamson, because she really then talks about us stepping into our femininity, our inner goddess, all of that stuff. So I would say, and I read A Woman's Worth when I was in my 20s, so I was kind of already on that path. And I just read You Are a Badass last year, which really kicked my $$ into really like full force, like that turbocharge of getting going.
Awesome. Awesome. Love it. We'll add them to the show notes. And one piece of advice that you received, Krstin, that sticks with you almost every day and, is a constant reminder that you got from maybe one of your coaches, what would that piece of advice be? What's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
I'm actually going to say my mom, who is the original badass in my life, is that I'll say it this way. She always send a thank you note, like always be grateful. Say thank you, write thank you. I love writing notes. It's time consuming for sure, but it's worth doing. But always send a thank you note or just be grateful for everything. So that whole gratitude I learned from my mom, and she and have impeccable manners. Like she is a badass with impeccable manners.
Love it. Love it. Awesome. Awesome. And everyone loves their mom. So awesome advice. And I love that you bring that up. And so a big question here we have here, Krstin, is, what is true wealth, right? How would you describe what is true wealth for yourself so that other people could understand it?
Like I said, true wealth it's gratitude. It is being grateful for every single thing that happens. Even those, I wish I could call those guys again and say, hey, thanks for, having a go at me because it inspired me on my path. So really just being grateful for everything. Following your bliss. So finding what makes you, where your creative place is, like follow your bliss. Like mine is the beach. And so I'm going to now be traveling around all of the Sydney beaches and doing my filming there. Some, it's my periscoping and some of my videos because that's my bliss and my most creative place. Always be learning. So always. And I love that. I love to read. I used to read the newspaper when I was in, I think, first grade. And our principal said, does anybody, who reads in here? Who reads the paper? And I raised my hand and she said, well, not surprising. So, always be learning, find and follow your bliss, have gratitude, and just step into your most magnificent self today. You don't have to do anything except honor and step into it.
Oh, beautiful. Krstin, I think you even beat me to that last question, which was, what's the one last piece of advice you want to leave with everyone else? I just want to end it there. Okay. That was like fantastic. Right? That was amazing. You knew what was coming ahead. Right?
My intuition.
Yeah, you already knew it. I put it out there and you just felt it. You're like, I'm going to take it from you, Richard. I'm going to make it better. So I love it. And so, Krstin, as we wrap up here, where's the best place for people to find you and actually learn more about your work and the Sassy Assassin?
So SassyAssassin.com is where my work is. And then Kristin Rohan, I'm on most social media channels. I think if you type in Kristin Rohan with IN, I come up. You can find me really anywhere. I'm not, as much as I am like I live a pretty discreet life. I'm not super public. You can find me. So I'd say SassyAssassin.com is the first place to go to learn more about why confidence, business, marketing, and essentially network marketing all come together.
Awesome. Awesome. And we'll add that to the show notes as well down below. So Krstin, once again, like just mind-blowing conversation here. Right? I just love it. And I always love when I get people in who, and this is, especially with your story with how you've, went from being, hey, I can be employable to now, actually, I want to be more than just that. I want to be bigger than that. So I love that so much. So thank you so much for jumping on here.
Thank you. So Richard, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much. This is exciting. I always knew that I was going to have a radio show. And so you definitely inspired me to start my podcast, because eventually I will have my radio show. I have my little microphone already. So thank you for inspiring me and kind of giving me the boost. I'm really grateful for it. Thank you. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. And so guys, if this show was great for you, if you learned a lot in this show with me and Krstin here, remember, we don't want to keep this the world's best kept secret. This needs to go out there. So make sure you share this. Make sure you go on iTunes and rate the podcast 5 stars so that we can actually go out there and bring not just Kristin's message out, but so many others as well, because we need to spread more of this out into the world. So guys, make sure you go out there, go forge your life your way. And remember to go out there, go live with love and go smash it. And I'll see you again on the next one. Thanks. Bye.